My name is Rel Varick, third observer of the Outer Ring Academy, top of my class in xenobehavioral analysis, which, in simple words, means I study strange species and pretend I understand them. Humans were supposed to be simple. That is what our files said. That is what our instructors said. That is what I believed, right up until the moment Lena Hale sat down in our classroom and ruined every assumption I had ever memorized. She arrived late. Not dramatically late, just calmly late. The kind of late that doesn't apologize. The kind that walks in like time itself should adjust. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Every head turned, and there she was. Small, quiet, no armor, no visible weapons, no defensive shell, no scales, no claws, just a human. She walked in without rushing, without fear, without even looking at the dozen species staring at her, like she was either a curiosity or a snack. She chose a seat near the back, sat down, and that was it. No speech, no nervous gestures, no attempt to blend in, just silence. I remember leaning toward my friend Jexel, whispering, "That's it? That's the infamous Deathworld species." Jexel clicked his mandibles, amused. Maybe they sent a weak one first. You know, as a joke. I almost laughed. Almost. Because something about her didn't feel like a joke. She didn't scan the room like prey. She didn't puff herself up like a predator. She just existed, calmly. And that was unsettling. Very unsettling. Our instructor, Professor Hearn, adjusted his holoscreen. "Class, we have a new transfer from Sector Blue. Lena Hale, human." A few murmurs. Some snickers. Someone behind me muttered, "Fragile." Yes, that word came up a lot. Fragile. Humans didn't look like much compared to us. No exoskeleton. No venom glands. No natural armor. But the files also said something else. Something most students ignored. High adaptability. Extreme endurance. Unpredictable aggression when provoked. I remember that line. Most didn't. Especially not Vark. Now, if you want to understand what happened next, you need to understand Vark. Vark was large. Not just large. Annoyingly large. Thick plates across his shoulders. Heavy tail. Teeth designed for crushing bone. The kind of creature that believed volume equaled authority. He was the unofficial ruler of our class. Not because he was smart. Because no one wanted to argue with something that could bite their arm off during a disagreement. And Vark noticed Lena. Of course he did. Predators always notice something different. He stood up, slow and deliberate, his tail scraping the floor with a low, threatening drag. "Oh, look," he said, voice dripping with mock interest. The soft one found a chair. Some students laughed. Not me. I was watching her. She didn't react. Not even a glance. She just sat there. Vark took a step closer. Then another. "You hear me, human?" he said, louder now. "Or are your ears as weak as your body?" Still nothing. Now, in most cases, silence like that would be seen as submission. But this didn't feel like submission. It felt like patience. And that made my instincts itch. Jexel leaned closer to me. "She's scared," he whispered. I shook my head slowly. "No, I don't think she is." Vark was now standing right next to her desk, towering, blocking the light. "You're my spot," he said. She finally moved. Not much. Just her eyes. She looked up at him. And for the first time, I felt something shift in the room. Her gaze wasn't angry. Wasn't afraid. It was bored. Actually bored. Like he was interrupting something mildly more important than him. She spoke. Her voice was calm. Even. Almost quiet enough to miss. "No, I'm not." A pause. A long pause. The room held its breath. Vark blinked. Once. Twice. Then he laughed. Loud. Sharp. Echoing off the walls. "Oh, I like this one," he said. "It talks." More laughter from the others. Encouraging him. Of course they did. That's how these things always go. One pushes. The crowd watches. Someone breaks. Except, she didn't. Vark leaned closer, lowering his massive head until his face was inches from hers. "You don't understand," he said, voice dropping into something more dangerous. "Everything here belongs to me." She tilted her head slightly. Still seated. Still relaxed. "Then you should have sat here first," she replied. A few students choked on their own breath, trying not to laugh. I felt it too. That dangerous kind of humor. The kind that makes a situation worse. Vark didn't laugh this time. His tail lashed once. Hard. Stand up, he ordered. She didn't move. Stand. Up. Nothing. Just that same calm expression. That same stillness. And suddenly, it clicked in my mind. This wasn't fear. This wasn't ignorance. This was a choice. She was choosing not to react. And that made her incredibly dangerous. Because every predator I had ever studied relied on reaction. Fear. Movement. Panic. She gave him none of that. Vark reached out. One heavy clawed hand slammed on her desk, cracking the surface slightly. Gasps around the room. Professor Hearn didn't intervene. Of course he didn't. Academy policy. Observe. Learn. Sometimes I hated this place. You think you're funny? Vark growled. Lena exhaled slowly, like she was tired. Not scared. Tired. A little, she said. That was the moment everything crossed a line. You could feel it, like a wire snapping. Vark's lips curled back, exposing rows of sharp teeth. You're going to regret that, he said. And finally, she moved more than just her eyes. She leaned back slightly in her chair, looked up at him, and said something so simple, so quiet, it sent a chill through my entire body. Probably, she said, but not today. Silence. Complete silence. Even the air felt heavier. Jexel whispered, "Why does that sound like a threat?" I didn't answer, because I was too busy realizing something terrifying. We had all misunderstood the situation. Completely. Vark thought he was dealing with prey. But prey doesn't sit still like that. Prey doesn't get bored. Prey doesn't warn you. And Lena Hale had just given a warning. Vark didn't hear it. Or worse, he didn't care. He grabbed her shoulder. Hard. And that was the mistake. The exact moment everything changed. And I couldn't look away. Because for the first time since she entered the room, Lena Hale smiled. Not a big smile. Not a happy one. Just a small, quiet, terrifying curve of her lips. Like someone who had finally decided to stop being patient. I have studied over 200 species. I have written papers on predator psychology. I have observed conflict patterns, dominance displays, survival instincts. None of it, prepared me for what happened next. Vark's claw tightened on Lena Hale's shoulder. A show of control. A declaration. A mistake. At first, nothing happened. No sudden explosion. No dramatic movement. Just stillness. Then she sighed. Actually sighed. Like someone mildly annoyed that their rest had been interrupted. You really should have listened, she said quietly. Vark snarled. Or what? And then, she moved. Fast. No warning. No build-up. One moment she was seated. The next, her hand shot up, gripping his wrist. Not struggling. Not panicking. Just precise. Controlled. I blinked. I missed it. That's how fast it was. Vark's expression shifted from confidence to confusion. Because his arm didn't move. At all. His muscles tensed. Plates flexed. Nothing. The human was holding him in place. That's not possible, Jexel whispered beside me. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because I was too busy watching reality break in front of me. Lena stood up. Slowly. Still holding his wrist. And now, for the first time, they were face to face. Well, almost. He still towered over her. But somehow, it didn't feel that way anymore. You talk a lot, she said. Her voice didn't rise. Didn't shake. It stayed calm. Steady. And you don't listen. Vark roared, trying to yank his arm free. That's when she stepped in. Closed the distance. Her other hand moved. A sharp strike to a joint beneath his armored plates. A weak point. A precise point. A point no one here even knew existed. Vark choked. His body jerked. His strength faltered. How does someone started? But no one finished that sentence. Because Lena didn't stop. She pivoted. Twisted his arm. Not wildly. Not brutally. Efficiently. Like she had done this before. Like she understood exactly how much force was needed. And where. Vark dropped to one knee. The ground shook. Gasps exploded around the room. This wasn't supposed to happen. This didn't happen. Not to Vark. Not to anyone like him. And yet, there he was. Kneeling. Because of a human. I felt my pulse spike. My instinct screamed something ancient and loud. Danger. Not loud danger. Not obvious danger. The worst kind. Quiet danger. The kind that waits. The kind that doesn't waste energy. The kind that only acts when necessary and ends things quickly. Lena leaned closer, still holding him in place. You had options, she said. Her tone wasn't angry. That was the worst part. It wasn't rage. It wasn't emotion. It was certainty. You could have walked away. Vark struggled, teeth grinding. Get off me. She tilted her head slightly. You could have sat somewhere else. His tail slammed the floor. Cracks spread. Still, he couldn't move her. You could have not touched me. Then she paused. A small pause. The kind that feels final. But you didn't. Her grip shifted. I didn't understand what she did. Not fully. But I saw the result. A sharp movement. A controlled snap. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just decisive. Vark went still. Completely still. His body froze. Then slowly, he collapsed. The room exploded into noise. Shouts. Gasps. Someone stumbled backward. Jexel actually hid behind me. I didn't blame him, because I couldn't move either. My brain was trying to process what I had just seen. Not just the outcome, the method, the control, the absolute lack of hesitation. Lena released him, stepped back, adjusted her sleeve, like she had just finished a minor task. Professor Hearn finally moved. Too late. Way too late. He rushed forward, scanning Vark's condition. Alive. Barely, but alive. The room went quiet again. Slowly, carefully, like everyone was afraid to make noise. Because now, we all understood something. We had been wrong. About everything. Lena looked around the room. Not proudly. Not threateningly. Just observing. Like we had been the experiment all along. Then her eyes landed on me. For a second. Just a second. And I swear, it felt like she saw everything. Every assumption. Every note I had ever taken about humans. Every mistake. I swallowed. Hard. She spoke again. Anyone else? She asked. No one answered. Of course no one answered. Even Vark's closest allies looked away. Because dominance had just been rewritten. Not with noise. Not with intimidation. But with precision. With patience. With a warning. That had been ignored. Lena nodded slightly. Good, she said. Then she sat back down. Same chair. Same position. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just taken down the strongest student in the room. Like she hadn't completely changed how we viewed her species. Silence lingered. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Professor Hearn cleared his throat. Class will continue, he said, though even he didn't sound convinced. No one spoke. No one laughed. No one moved. We just sat there, trying to pretend things were normal again. They weren't. They would never be again. Jexel leaned toward me, voice barely audible. Rel, what is she? I exhaled slowly, still watching her, still trying to understand. She's human, I said. Then I paused, because that answer wasn't enough anymore. I lowered my voice, and we've been studying them wrong. Jexel didn't reply. He didn't need to. We both knew it. Everyone in that room knew it. Humans weren't dangerous because they were loud, or big, or obviously powerful. They were dangerous because they didn't need to prove anything. Because they waited. Because they endured. Because when the moment came, they ended it. Clean. Fast. Final. Lena Hale didn't look at anyone again. Didn't speak. Didn't react. She just sat there. Calm. Exactly like when she arrived. And somehow, that was even more terrifying than what she had done. Because now we knew that calm wasn't weakness. It was restraint. And we had just witnessed what happens when that restraint runs out. We thought humans were weak. We were wrong. On a death world, silence isn't weakness. It's a warning. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.